Okay, so that happens inside your brain.
Yeah.
You need to be making sure as a teacher that's happening inside your children's brain.
Okay.
So when they read a quadratic function, that comes to their brain. And the only way you'll know that it comes to their brain is when they write it down. So when they write it down. So now as a teacher, you're going to make them write that quadratic equation down.
If I could answer your question about, for instance, when we're doing projects at all, I was thinking about what we call the concept map. Basically, those students I can take them through the process by showing them step by step. So now I got to my conclusion so that then we can draw from there a new understanding. So then they can do the same thing with their projects. So to show evidence,
Right.
what they went through to get to that point.
Right.
By doing something repeatedly, they start doing problem solving.
Absolutely. So let's continue on this. So you said when you read quadratic function, this popped in your brain, and then you wrote it down. Okay. Then there's some other stuff here that's going to happen inside your brain that I need you to articulate and then write down on paper. Continue on. Where the second finite difference is 3. What's happening? That's crazy words, right? That's a crazy statement right there. Second finite difference, right?
Right.
What's happening inside your brain when you read that?
That this second finite difference is my 2A. Right there, I already wrote it.
Okay. Why would you write the letter A?
That's when we derive this formula, how to get A, B, and C, we use the second finite difference.
Okay. So that means your kids are going to have to be taught the second finite difference.
Yeah.
See,
Boom.
can I share? When I saw second finite difference, I instantly saw a table that saw that the first difference didn't work, and so then I saw second difference had to be second difference had to be 3. That's what I would have wrote down because that's the way I see it when I see that word.
If you have a table like this, yeah, you can do it.
But even if I don't have a table, that's what I would have written just because that's the way I think. So that's what he's asking us to do is write it the way we think. I'm not saying what I think a kid would think. I'm saying exactly what I would think when I'm giving all this information. I'm going to try to figure out, because I was taught to use a table for everything. So I'm going, where does second finite difference come from the table? So that's what I'm just sharing, that it was interesting that we saw 2 different things. You saw a formula where I saw a process.
Now I get it. And when I see second inside quickly in my brain, I put 2. Right? Second. I just put that. I would write that there. That would maybe tip me to this too, right? So go ahead and annotate that. Okay, and then the word finite in my brain, right? Again, I'm going to have to do this because if I'm not in math, I'm thinking there's infinite.
Yeah.
You see that symbol, infinite, but this is finite. That means
So it says beginning
the described place. Right?
Yeah, beginning and end.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then what do you see?
And then
What do you see here?
the y-intercept. This gives me the value of C.
Yeah, but when you read the word y-intercept, what do you see inside your brain? What's happening inside your brain when you see that, the y-intercept? And even with these plots, can you visualize this?
Yeah.
What does it look like? Can you draw it for us?
It crosses the y-axis.
Yep. I want to see you draw the y-intercept is at 0, -2.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we're analyzing. So we can later on.
Would you mark it? Would you actually mark what it is?
The y-intercept.
And we'll be very intentional.
Would you put the coordinate there?
If they learn the process,
Okay.
Now I get what you wanted to do. Make it visible.
Yes.
I need
This is very abstract.
I need your thinking to be visual.
Yes.
Think about a movie Think about a movie when they take the digital screen and it's just in thin air, and they take things and they're throwing it up, right? And it's all coming together. That's what's happening inside of a lot of people's brains. The only way that they could have ever created that is because it happened in someone's brain. Right? That's the only way things get created, is it happens inside our heads, inside our brains. So you've got to take what's inside your head and make it visual for your kids. This is great. You started doing questions. I think that's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, now that you know this, what are kids going to have to know now in terms of second finite difference? Have you already taught that?
No, I'm going to teach them tomorrow this.
So thinking about this idea of second finite difference is 3. What about that concept is going to be difficult for students?
Assigning this symbol 2A to that second finite difference.
Right. That's foreign to them, isn't it? Yeah. They're not going to know why to do that, are they?
Yeah.
So those are some things. Now let's put that. This is going to be hard, right? It's going to be difficult to teach. I'm going to have to be intentional on how it is.
2A.
Maybe why is it 2A?
Assuming that they condition info.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's how you plan your lesson.
Exactly. And that's why you do all this first before you plan your lesson, because now you'll know.
So what are some of the stumbling blocks you're
Is it making sense?
Yes, great sense.
doing it back? It's like from the end coming back. I see. Makes sense.
Planning your gas stops when you're traveling to El Paso. You got to know how far you can get on each tank of gas. You got to know.
This is too abstract.
Right. Now you're connecting. See, but the good thing is, I'm just glad that you've done this and that we've gotten to a starting point. So now we can even build on the questions that you have here to close the gaps with these questions. Because now that you're starting to
This is
realize.
process.
Right, but now you're starting to visualize. What could you do to get your students to understand the visual that you do? What question would you ask them? What would you ask them to show you? How could you ask that?
Which one? What's the second
Yeah,
finite difference?
how could you ask them to show you what that means to them?
No, this is given. That this is 3.
Okay, but again, we're checking to see it for understanding with them. How would you ask them to know, show you that they understand what that means? What would you ask? What question would you ask?
Oh, what? How do we represent the second finite difference?
Do you have that written down somewhere? So you would write that question down. So that's a question. That's a question you would write down.
Get you to think for them.
Yeah.
Or for you to script those questions.
Yeah, because you want to get them there. Yeah, and these numbers don't have to be sequential. These numbers are just questions that's going to help you advance their thinking without giving them step by step, but to help them think through the process and struggle the way you are. Because the struggle is a good thing.
Work your pen today.
And on that, I'm going to stop the recording.